Hello there. Welcome to Just the Discs. We talk about Blu-rays here. My name's Brian. Today I am talking to you about some recent Vinegar Syndrome Partner Labels. This is basically just an unboxing. So I'll show you the discs and maybe read a little off the back. Pardon the reading time you're going to have here, but just wanted to kind of let you guys know what these titles are and make you aware of them and, pique your interest if it may do so. So we're going to start with the partner label Deaf Crocodile and their new release of Solomon King. This is it's of the era of blaxploitation, and it's from 1974. But I've heard tell that it is sort of more than that. That it is sort of moves beyond some of the tropes of blaxploitation films in the 1970s. And this is a really rare film. I know that they did a Kickstarter to help with the costs of the restoration, and they did some screenings with their new restoration. As I understand it, there are the negative, and those elements are lost, but they were able to find a surviving print and restore from that. And this does look very good, for the period, and considering it's from this print, it looks really nice. And this film seemed to have been more or less lost. So it's kind of neat when a label like this can bring a film back from being gone. And it is actor, director, writer Sal Watts' long-lost independent black crime action film. Solomon King was shot in Oakland, California in 1973 with a cast of mostly non-professional black actors, a killer soul-funk soundtrack, and incredible clothes from Watts' own Mr. Sal's fashion stores. That's really cool. In the vein of Shaft, the film stars Watts as an African-American version of James Bond, Matt Helm, seducing beautiful nightclub singers and beating the crap out of the henchmen of an oil-obsessed Middle Eastern ruler. Produced on a shoestring budget and shot on location in many of the businesses Watts owned, the film is a priceless document of early 70s black culture, music, and fashion in Oakland, and a powerful metaphor for black empowerment with 70s black culture, music, with Solomon turning the tables on every duplicitous establishment character he encounters. You can't do a damn thing without the white man calling the shots, he observes. Solomon King, like Rudy Ray Moore's Dolomite from 1975, is both wildly entertaining, funk-fueled action fantasy and a prime example of an independent black filmmaker trying to break into the commercial film market his own way. So this is the new restoration from the only known complete 35mm print. This has a new commentary by film critic and historian Walter Chaw. I'm a big fan of Walter's. Good track from him. A new commentary track by author, journalist, and documentary film producer Stephen Reifel, Ciro Honda, Wesleyan University Press. A new 3-part video interview with Belinda Burton Watts, the widow of the director and star Sal Watts. A new booklet essay by Hosea Howard, Blaxploitation Cinema, the Essential Reference Guide, and a July 18th, 1976 episode of The Jay Payton Show, executive produced by Sal Watts, a reproduction of the Solomon King press book, restoration demo. So very cool to have this new one from Deaf Crocodile, who, really doing, as I've mentioned, some interesting stuff, and the variety of stuff, now adding this film to their catalog of interesting foreign releases, crazy, Romanian cartoons. It's a fascinating group of films that they're curating. So very excited to check out Solomon King. Next we have the new one from VHSHitfest. Dan Kinham co-founded this label, and I talked to him on the channel. You should definitely go back and check out that interview. I had a lot of fun talking to Dan, and we talked about this film, Satan's Menagerie, which I want to say came out in 2000. early 2000s, but it took a while to get there. So it's not really, it's like a labor of love, definitely. I can't wait to check this one out based on Dan's description. It says 5 creatures of darkness come together for a one-of-a-kind gathering. Their fates intertwined in the resurrection of a demon god. What kind of carnage will ensue when these children of the night unite? Satan's Menagerie stands out as one of the most ambitious shot-on-video films ever made. Director Gary Griffith's love letter to Universal monster movies is injected with non-stop, amazing, low-budget 90s special effects by Vincent Schicchi, The Amazing Spider-Man, Dogma, Romeo and Juliet, for a wholly original mind-melting experience. Shot in 1995, but not released until 2001. There you go. Satan's Menagerie slipped into obscurity and was nearly impossible to see outside of its scarce initial VHS run. VHSHitfest is so excited to unleash this Monster Mash masterpiece on the world in a special feature-packed edition, the way it deserves to be seen. Now, if I recall, Dan said there was something like 7 hours of... I don't know if I'm remembering that right, but you have audio commentary with the director and the editor and an actor. All Hell Breaks Loose, the making of Satan's Menagerie, featuring new interviews with Gary Griffith, Tom Powers, John Tazosh, Tony Timpone, Fernando Cooper, Marguerite Timpone. Interview with actor Peter Papageorgiou. Interview with actor Chuck Skeskowski. Interview with set builder actor Leonard Bass. Tales of the Undead, never released 1985 feature-length anthology. Yeah, that's part of the reason there's 7 hours, is because you get a full other feature. That's really exciting. He talked about that in the interview as well. Curious to see that anthology that he made. The Art of Murder short film, Nightwing music video, still gallery, trailer, Easter eggs. Just a really neatly produced movie from what is quickly becoming one of my go-to labels as part of the Vinegar Syndrome Partners, and I am very excited to see what Dan does next. Again, go look at that interview because he talked about the slate and the number of films they're doing. Nothing specific outside of this one, but this sounds amazing. This tribute to Universal monster movies done on a low budget with gore. I don't know. That's going into player real soon. This one is from Altered Innocence. One of my first or second purchases from Altered Innocence. This one is called Dressed in Blue. This came recommended from both Justin Liberty and Katie Reif. I think she does a column for Letterboxd about physical media releases. And they were both really, really high on this documentary, a moving portrait of 6 transgender women in 80s Spain, which sounds fascinating to me. And so it's a movie I'd never heard of, but does sound really neat. One of the best trans films you've likely never heard of, Antonio Jimenez Rico's landmark 1983 documentary Dressed in Blue explores the lives and loves of a group of 6 transgender women living in Madrid in the years following Spain's transition to democracy. But more than that, it's a loving portrait of a culture finally emerging from the shadows after being hidden far too long. Antonio's loving portrait of these women gave them the freedom to portray their own stories with their own friends and family, but in a stylized, scripted narrative framework with gorgeous cinematography by Teo Escamilla. The stories of Eva, Nasha, Lauren, Josette, Renee, and Tamara were never properly released outside of Spain and never available on home video, but finally Altered Innocence and Anus Films is proud to present this vital testament to just how far we've come and how far we've still to go. Bonus features, Return to the Palace, Dressed in Blue at 40, conversation about trans cinema with film historian Elizabeth Purcell, trans films critics Juan Barquin and Caden Mark Gardner, Willow Caitlin McClay, and filmmaker and researcher Francis Arpea, and porn performer Carter Monoir. 68 minutes, Monir. So that sounds like an interesting discussion, and what's going to be maybe a potential discovery for me in 2023 by the time I get to watch this. But very excited to check it out based on the hype. So that was Dressed in Blue. Next we have from Canadian International Pictures, The Rainbow Boys. Look at Donald Pleasance on the cover of this one. I'm very curious about this one. Canadian International has been doing some cool stuff. They just recently teased on our Film Discoveries episode of Pure Cinema. The movie Rubber Gun came up. Alan Moyle's early feature, Canadian feature, Rubber Gun came up, and there were people, apparently it's on YouTube, but they were imploring that folks that want to see it just wait a little longer, quote unquote. So that would indicate that they have a release in the works of Rubber Gun, which is exciting because I don't think it's had really much of a release to this date. So keep an eye out for that from Canadian International. But this is a 50th anniversary special edition. Struggling to subsist on negligible and infrequent gold discoveries, prospector Ralph Logan, Donald Pleasance, crosses paths with Mazzella, Return of the Living Dead's Don Calfa, a New York City drifter with a three-wheel motorcycle and plenty of time on his hands. After introducing his new acquaintance to the practical, level-headed Gladys, the Andromeda Strain's Kate Reed, Logan suggests the trio join forces for a mission deep into the mountains of British Columbia in search of his father's elusive stash of gold. The journey that follows is equal parts dangerous, exciting, wacky, and enlightening as the mismatched trio goes to extraordinary lengths to make the most of their golden opportunity. The one and only live-action feature from famed animation director Gerald Potterton, Heavy Metal. Oh, that's cool. That director, wow, nice. The Rainbow Boys is a lively showcase for the talents of its three stars and visually stunning widescreen journey through Canada's great outdoors with a playfully old-fashioned approach. This film brings to mind the more expansive, adventurous Hollywood comedies of the 1950s with an oddball sensibility all its own. Like the gold our heroes seek, The Rainbow Boys is a long-lost treasure awaiting to be rediscovered. I'm totally in on this. This is fully sold. Scanned in 4K from 35mm interpositive, audio commentary featuring director Gerald Potterton, producer Anthony Robineau, and composer Howard Blake. An Hour with Jerry, 53-minute career-spanning interview with director Gerald Potterton. The Legend of Don Calfa, 27-minute author and filmmaker Gary Smart reflecting on the life and work of his friend Don Calfa. Rainbow Boys from VHS to Blu-ray, 4 minutes. Restoring the Rainbow Boys, re-release trailer, Pinter People animation, 1969, 60 minutes, 4 animated segments written by Harold Pinter and directed by Gerald Potterton. Wow. Definitely in on that. Booklet essay featuring reflections from editor Catherine Reynolds and an essay by Donald Pleasance biographer Sam Besant on the actor's Canadian films. Yeah, this sounds like really cool. Another one that could be a potential for my discoveries list for 2023, The Rainbow Boys. All right, next up we have something from AGFA. Always interesting to see what they're bringing every single month. Last month they brought Doris Wishman Volume 3, basically. I forget if it was what light years it is, but they're really doing a nice job with the Doris Wishman sets. So definitely check those out if you haven't. This is The Black Crystal, and I know this is a Super 8 movie, and that cover already has my attention. Inspired by the Matt Morris cult murders and shot entirely on Super 8, The Black Crystal is an action horror hallucination that was filmed in the backwoods of Tucson, Arizona. The story follows Will, writer, director, producer, editor, composer Mike Conway, as he and his yellow Trans Am encounter a gang of satanic cultists led by the evil Daniel. Surviving the ordeal, Will meets up with Daphne, a goth witch with a power channeler called the Black Crystal that might hold the key to the underworld. Awash with kickboxing dads, dollar store bloodshed, and a killer synthesizer score, this is an imagination and ambitious homemade fun bomb that has been missing in action since its original VHS release. AGFA presents Black Crystal on disc for the first time ever, featuring a new presentation from the original 3/4 tape master and enough extras to fill Daniel's satanic shed. Let's see here. preserved from the original 1-inch master, commentary with director Mike Conway, interview with Mike Conway and actor Mark Lang, original home video trailer, shorts by Mike Conway, bonus movie, the Black Crystal original VHS version. Yeah, very cool. All region, fascinating stuff. Never heard of it. They are always bringing movies that I've never heard of. And they rarely disappoint. All right, next up, one from Culture Shock, Death Magic. I was tempted just by the description of this one. Looks fascinating. Let's see here. Death Magic. Powell Davidson and his magician friends are tired of working hard under Donald Graham. They want to get into some serious magic, some necromancy. Powell has computed the perfect time to summon a spirit in an abandoned pueblo outside of town. They perform their spell and unwillingly unleash Aaron Parker, a murderous Civil War major, to fulfill his dying curse, to kill the descendants of every person who condemned him to death by hanging in 1875. Written and directed by the emergency room doctor novelist Paul Klinko. Death Magic is the Tucson-lensed... Oh, more Tucson. Lensed Civil War black magic shot on VHS slasher epic you never knew you needed, full of Arizona flavor and early 90s suburban vibes. Death Magic delivers on every level. It takes several cues from the Nightmare on Elm Street films and blends the director Klinko's own obsessions with the occult for one of the most unique pieces of no-budget regional horror ever created. This presentation of Death Magic was created using the highest quality SVHS materials available and restored with the director's guidance and supervision. Culture Shock Releasing is proud to present Death Magic for the first time on disc. And this has feature-length commentary by director Paul Klinko, rough cut ending featuring extended gore sequences, excerpt from Genre Grinder podcast about Death Magic, comparison of video sources, etc. So, I don't know. I heard it was kind of a slashery thing. Sounds fascinating. Civil War guy trying to make revenge. Yeah, Death Magic. Okay. From Music Box Films, we have Silvio. And this one, I really don't know too much about, but I do like that the top of the back says Norman Rockwell by way of Pee Wee Herman. And it says, based on a series of avant-garde vines by creator Albert Burney, Silvio is the story of a Baltimore-based gorilla's rise and fall from local TV fame. Silvio Bernardi's droll day job for a debt collector is interrupted when he is sent to settle the debt of a local TV talk show host, but instead is mistaken for a guest. Silvio's clumsy appearance results in some broken things and with viewers falling in love with his hilarious and destructive ape persona. As a result, Silvio's personal preferences for simple puppetry and delicate stop motion are put at odds with the character he ends up playing for his human viewers. An absurdist and downright lovely indie vision, Silvio will resonate with anyone who refuses to live out their stereotype. Fascinating sounding movie. That's for sure. Director's audio commentary, deleted scenes, bonus films, and music videos. Complete series of vines that originated this idea. So yeah, this one sounds pretty fascinating. Ape becomes famous, falls from grace. Silvio from Music Box. All right. Then we have Freak Scene, the story of Dinosaur Jr. This is from Utopia. So this is a documentary about musician Dinosaur Jr. Homage to one of the most influential bands in alternative music, which inspired the rock scene in the 1990s, including Nirvana. It's also the story of eccentric guitarist and bandleader Jay Mascis, bass player Lou Barlow, and drummer Murph not communicating with each other, a tragically funny and sometimes noisy roller coaster ride by a dysfunctional family, Dinosaur Jr. Includes director's commentary, bonus interviews, New York premiere Q&A with Jay Mascis and director Philip Reichenheim, and the trailers. I was a fan of Dinosaur Jr. back in the day, and so this seems like it would be... I'm always kind of interested in documentaries about musicians and bands. I recently talked about the Velvet Underground, Blu-ray that just came out from Criterion. Obviously, Dinosaur Jr. and Velvet Underground are two different things, but it's always fascinating to me to get sort of a look inside the creative processes of people like this, influential musicians, and how they live their lives, how they relate to each other, So I'm definitely looking forward to checking this out. This is one of the ones that I saw was getting released, and I was like, oh, there's a documentary I definitely want to check out. So that is Freak Scene, The Story of Dinosaur Jr. That is from 2021. Then we have Dam's Elvis, Daughter of Elvis. This is the new one from Saturn's Core. No. This isn't Saturn's Core. It is. Sorry. Saturn's Core releasing. Another one that I wasn't fully aware of what this is, exactly. It is, while delivering an apocalyptic message to his sect, the unearthly Black Jesus orders his leather-clad biker converts to destroy the pagan mistress Dam's Elvis before she can raise her father, the fabled rock and roll deity Elvis, from the dead. When a sheltered country schoolgirl named Isla M is nearly butchered by Black Jesus' murderous disciple Candy, she is miraculously reborn as the fringe-adorned, Harley-riding Dam's Elvis, who promptly embarks on a pilgrimage to Memphis, spreading the gospel along the way by disseminating the Elvis records to a burgeoning and ardent congregation of fans. The SOV feature film debut of the visionary Memphis-based punkabilly provocateur John Michael McCarthy, Dam's Elvis, Daughter of Elvis, heralded the arrival of a singular and eccentric new voice in the lawless landscape of 90s underground film, featuring performances by Sherry Lynn Garris and the enigmatic 90s scream queen Getty Chasin, was also in Red Lips. That sounds interesting for sure. Audio commentary with writer-director John Michael McCarthy, moderated by Mike Hunchback of Seminal Psychosis, resurrecting Elvis, an interview with writer-director John Michael McCarthy, Making Something Out of Nothing, the making of Dam's Elvis, over 2.5 hours of rare behind-the-scenes footage. That's fascinating. Director John Michael McCarthy reads the Dam's Elvis and Super Sex comic books, Elvis on tour concert footage. Fascinating. 64-minute movie. I like 64-minute movies. So that's Dam's Elvis, Daughter of Elvis from Saturn's Core. All right, what else have we got left here? From ETR Media, we have Lieutenant Jangles, part man, part cigarette, all Australian. And, I don't know anything about this one. Crime is a disease, meet the condom. It's the mid-1980s, the most crime-ridden city of Australia. In the most crime-ridden city of Australia, only one man keeps the scales of justice even, cowboy detective Lieutenant Jangles. After his partner is killed in a blazing shootout, Jangles goes on an explosive and blood-soaked mission to avenge his death. His quest for vengeance unintentionally makes the enemy of a mysterious new crime boss who has been quietly taking over Brisbane City. When their paths finally cross, one thing is made clear: this town isn't big enough for the both of them. I mean, it sounds like some kind of an Australian take on Cobra, maybe. And from that point of view, I'm in. New commentary track with co-creators Nick Champeau and Daniel Cordery, with special guest film critic Michelle Kisner, recorded in 2022. Lieutenant Jangles, The Whole Bloody Story, making of documentary, deleted extended scenes, hidden gems, all kinds of stuff here. Documentary stories. Wow, there's a lot of extra stuff on this. I mean, just that picture alone with some crazy wigs makes me interested in what the heck Lieutenant Jangles is. Okay. Got a few more things here. Here is the other AGFA, Doris Wishman. This is the Daylight Years. I think this is the third volume that they've done of the Doris Wishman films. And this one includes... Cover that up. So it says, no one will ever make movies like Doris Wishman made movies. One of the most prolific women filmmakers in the history of American cinema. Writer, director Etta Wishman created collisions between surrealism and exploitation that feel like they materialized from an alternate universe. The films of Doris Wishman, The Daylight Years, surveys the early sun-soaked nudist era of Wishman's career, from Nude on the Moon. I'll go through the films here. Disc 1, Nude on the Moon, 1961, and Blaze Star Goes Nudist, 1962. These are restorations from the original 35 camera negatives. Nude on the Moon commentary with director Frank Henenlotter and filmmaker Anthony Sneed. Blaze Star Goes Nudist commentary with Wishman biographer Michael Bowen. Theatrical trailers. Booklet with writing from Something Weird's Lisa Petrucci on a vintage Doris Wishman interview are also included on Disc 1. Disc 2, Hideout in the Sun, 1960, and Gentlemen Prefer Nature Girls, 1963. Preservation from Doris Wishman's personal 16mm print for Hideout in the Sun, and commentary with Wishman biographer Michael Bowen. Gentlemen Prefer Nature, restoration from original 35 camera negative, unseen Doris Wishman interview from 1974, included on Disc 2. And Disc 3 includes Diary of a Nudist, 1961, and The Prince and the Nature Girl from 1965. Diary of a Nudist restoration from original 35 camera negative. And Diary of a Nudist includes commentary with queer film historian Elizabeth Purcell. And Prince and the Nature Girl preservation from the only existing 35mm print film elements in German with English subtitles. So that one must be pretty rare and hard to get a hold of. But that's... So you get what? 6 of her films on this, and they do look fascinating. Just from the photos you can see, you can tell this is going to be an interesting set. And I haven't seen a lot of these Doris Wishman films, so I do love that they are dedicating this whole series to her. Very cool stuff. And then last but not least, we have another one from Canadian International Pictures. This is called Mindfield, and it stars Michael Ironside, Lisa Langlois, and Christopher Plummer. It looks like something straight out of Scanners almost, with Ironside on the cover with little electrodes on his head, basically. It says the war is on for brain control. The long shadow of an experimental CIA mind control program, Sergeant Kellen O'Reilly, Total Recall's Michael Ironside, begins experiencing violent flashbacks of his treatments, quote-unquote, at the hands of the sinister Dr. Sartorius, Silent Partner's Christopher Plummer. When the body count on his latest case inexplicably begins pointing towards his own fragmented past, a romance with Sartorius's criminal prosecutor, Lisa Langlois, raises the stakes. Now Riley must forge a path forward through a hall of mirrors conspiracy stretching from the mafia to the highest levels of the CIA, culminating in a shocking stadium-sized confrontation. Made by a supergroup of Canadian genre filmmakers, including George Mihalka, My Bloody Valentine, and Tom Barry, The Amityville Curse, who joined forces to develop the script with novelist William Deverell. Mindfield was eventually brought to screen by Conexploitation master Jean-Claude Lord, The Vindicator. The result is a uniquely ambitious experiment in genre filmmaking there that's part explosive action movie, part MK Ultra-inspired conspiracy thriller, and part sleazy underworld crime saga, reuniting Lord with his visiting hours leading man. Mindfield emerges as one of the Michael Ironside's standout star vehicles. Well, I'm in on that. This is from 1989. Scanned and restored in 2K from the original 35, or from the 35 Interpositive by Elephant, Memoire du Cinéma Quebec, with sound transferred and restored from the original 35 Magnetic Final Mix. Audio commentary by featuring Paul Kurup of Conexploitation.com. He's always quality. And film historian Jason Pachonsky. Mindfield 2022, Mind Meld, sorry. 12-minute interview with a director, George Mihalka. Open Mind, 12-minute interview with producer Tom Barry. And Mind Games, a 10-minute interview with actress Lisa Langlois. Lisa's directors, Langlois reflects on 12 memorable collaborations. Oh, that's very cool. Booklet featuring a tribute to Jean-Claude Lord by Fantasia programmer Marc Lamothe. Reversible cover art. So that's Mindfield. And that's cool that it's got the director of My Bloody Valentine involved and Michael Ironside looking cool. So that'll do it for this roundup of partner label titles. Hopefully there's some stuff in here you weren't aware of. I know there was some that I was not fully aware of. And so part of this is just to kind of make you understand from the so many discs that are coming out each month from Vinegar Syndrome partner labels, what they are, what you're getting if you buy them, and which may or may not look of the most interest to you. So thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.